case you missed it, it's the top 5 sports talkers of the day. Now, it's time for Dan Barrero's Top 5 at 5. Brought to you by Gutter Helmet of Minnesota. Never clean your gutters again. Learn more at gutterhelmetmn.com.
I wonder what other old cronies I could bring on. That was the term used by the offended Kyler Obo. Bring on your old cronies.
We had Mitch Lawrence on last week.
He's an old crony.
He's a Dallas crony.
He is, that's true.
Woj. Gene Wojciechowski. We haven't had him on in a while. He's an old crony.
That's true. Yeah, he's more Wojo.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Woj is...
Adrian Wojciechowski.
Yeah, I think. We got to find some way to distinguish between the two. Differentiate. Among other things.
Because Dallas was the longest place you worked other than here, right?
Yeah, and that was 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Bozich is like your oldest crony.
Bozich is the oldest crony, and none of them like Kyler Murray. I don't know what it is. I don't know what happened. Something's in the water among all the cronies. That
you guys don't like video games. You're too old for video games.
Maybe that's
You're
it.
all
Maybe you hit on it.
You don't get what the kids these days are into.
I like Pong.
Yeah.
I enjoy playing Pong.
You should bring that up with Kyler from the perch at training camp.
I should, shouldn't I? It's a beautiful thing. All right, top 5 at 5. What do you have?
Let's start with Kyler. Why not?
Why not?
I've got a Kirk Cousins nugget for you specifically as well.
Woo-hoo.
And they're both from Diana Rossini.
She's plugged in.
She's plugged in. This is from a couple of hours ago. Now that Kyler Murray's release from the Cardinals is official, the Vikings are expected to target him as a veteran addition to their quarterback room, sources tell The Athletic. I think we all go, yeah.
Well, you sent me a major... Is it Mike Silver piece?
I haven't read it yet.
He's a big KOC Bobo, isn't he? Kind of. So, and he made it sound basically like it's a slam dunk, and this is like the greatest idea in the history of football?
I don't know. I did the thing that you're not supposed to do where I saw it, and I go, this is interesting. I sent it to you.
Yeah.
Because I literally just saw it within the last 5 minutes.
Gotcha.
But Rossini mentions that he will be taking a visit, Kyler Murray, to Minnesota and getting a physical. Now, there's one Sporting News reporter that says he might be on the plane now. So
are we tracking it like we did with Favre?
That's the question.
Yeah.
Are we officially on Kyler Watch? Hashtag Kyler Watch. And does Kyler Murray fly commercial or do they fly him in privately?
Oh, privately.
You think so?
Yeah. We say we're big. How do you think we finished number 1 or 2 in all these surveys and not even in terms of player satisfaction without ever winning a playoff game?
Private planes.
Private planes. There's no question about that.
So it could, as we know, theoretically happen very quickly here. We may be on Kyler Watch. So private plane to Egan, I would assume Holman Field.
Is that that would be the place?
I would assume.
Is that named after Thomas Holman?
You know what? No, I'm sorry. I'm the idiot. They'll just go to signature and then shoot right down.
All right.
That would be my guess.
It's not Tom Holman. It's not
not yet.
The Borders are guy.
Not yet, but we're renaming everything. So wait, is Kessler already here?
Yeah.
we're renaming everything.
Inspired.
Here's the Cousins nugget. Do you know who's expected to show interest in him?
In
Kirk Cousins.
Kirk Cousins. I'm going to say the Vegas Raiders.
Good guess. Expect the Raiders to show interest in Cousins as they look for a veteran quarterback addition to help presumptive number 1 pick Fernando Mendoza. That's a lot of... What's the way to describe Cousins and Mendoza? How they talk?
A perfect match.
Right? But it's like almost too much. They're almost too earnest.
It's robotic.
Yeah.
But it might be unfair to reduce it to that because too earnest is a good way to put it. On the other hand, you could say, well, what's wrong with earnest?
Nothing's wrong with it. But
we don't accept it, but that doesn't mean it can't be effective.
Yeah, those of us that aren't earnest, when we see it, we don't appreciate it.
That's correct.
We go, it's so earnest. It's too much.
Yes.
It's so phony. But those two, I would love a dueling press conference with those two. That would be thick, right?
That would be very
Speaking of old cronies,
opaque.
Your cronies would not like that.
Yeah, that's very true.
You guys would not like that.
No, I wouldn't.
So anyway, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting for sure. And it makes some sense, I guess, as a place that he might land. My assumption is the intent is to start Mendoza from the beginning.
I would think so.
But maybe not. I don't know what their master plan is at this point. But I'm assuming if Cousins were to go there, he just would accept the reality that that nobody wants him as a starter right now. Where he can guarantee himself some playing time this season. Correct?
Yeah.
Isn't that what that tells you?
I think
Because
that's what
otherwise
tells
he's going to go, I don't think he'd go there if he has an option where he might actually have a better chance to play.
Last Vikings nugget, they released Jonathan Allen and Hargrave. Hargrave's already going to the Packers, $23 million, $13 million this season. But Aaron Jones is back. We said, what was our favorite Aaron Jones moment?
Yeah.
And Jordan Mason was really the only running back on roster worth noting. Well, not anymore because the band's getting back together. Aaron Jones has agreed to revise his contract for 2026. He'll make $5 million in guaranteed money, which is about half of what he was originally
Who was
owed.
it? Which one of the Jackals, before he was brought back, said the Vikings, if they're thinking in terms of like thunder and lightning, Jordan Mason would be thunder, and they're going to be looking for some lightning. At this point, with all due respect to Aaron Jones, who I've always respected as a player, I don't think you can call him lightning. I took lightning to mean a game breaker kind of a player. Now, those are hard to find, off the cuff. But I still wonder if there's going to be another piece to this, because wouldn't it be helpful to have a semi-game breaker at that position, no matter who you have at quarterback?
Yes.
And we haven't had that in a long time at the running back position. And I know it got downgraded for many years.
Right.
But I feel like it's starting to be valued again a little bit more.
I think Saquon Barkley changed a lot of it.
Yes.
There's some other guys that have changed it.
Gibbs for the Lions.
That's a good one.
Again, the Gibbs, those individuals don't grow on trees, but nevertheless.
Harrison Smith will be a post-June 1 release. That's a money thing.
Correct.
Nobody knows exactly what he's doing yet, but at least it buys him time.
Correct.
So that is those are the Vikings nuggets. The Wild won 5 rip last night. You opened the show with it for Kevin Fallness, who's probably just ducked in, wondering why we haven't talked about it yet. They did beat the Mammoth.
It's Bobby Brink's world.
Bobby Brink's world. We're all just living in it.
That's it.
If you see him at Maynard's with his buddies, don't tell Bill Guerin.
And he's not
The guy's
Brinksy.
allowed to live his life.
He's Brinky. Some people think it should be Brinker, as in the Brinker.
Oh, Brinker. Yeah.
As in Hans Brinker, which is a dated reference.
I get that one, but
That
Brinker
one, yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah, Brinker is not bad either, I would say.
Yeah, Brinker.
Maybe we'll ask Billy Guerin, who's going to join us for the entire Friday edition of Enough Said on television.
Yeah.
If he's got a favorite nickname for him already. Bobby Brink.
He likes nicknames.
He loves them.
He's a hockey guy.
He's a hockey guy. They all do.
And then I mentioned, finally, as we wrap up the top 5 at 5, I have a new Timberwolves West Coast wellness plan. Really, it's a late tip wellness plan where I don't watch them live, especially midweek West Coast. Last night's a 10 o'clock game because I think they were on Prime last night.
They were on...
Were they on Peacock?
It was on Peacock last night, I think.
So 10 o'clock Peacock. It's a Tuesday night because you know me, I'm a rube. If I watched that game last night, given how they played...
I think it was actually on NBC last night, because if it was a double... at least the early game was NBC, so maybe one was one of each. Regardless, it was NBC/Peacock.
If I watched it on anything, and I watched that performance, I would have been up till 4 a.m. texting my buddy Todd about what are we going to do about this team.
Yeah.
But because I went to bed, I got a good, as Craig Kilborn would say, I got a good 8 hours, and... woke up to the news that they lost by 15, 14, and it wasn't that close, and Ant was 1 for 10 from 3.
Yeah, it was not a good offensive performance at all. They forced us into isolation mode with our 2 big scores, and we didn't handle it particularly well, it doesn't sound like. And as we said before the game, the kiss of death was LeBron didn't play, and the Lakers have tended to be much better with 2 of their big 3 available. Less so with all 3 of the big 3. That might have been the death sentence right there, although we're still allowed as a team to play better.
Yeah.
And a very disappointing start to this trip, which we've said is a 10-game stretch in which you're playing largely teams with outstanding records and teams that are in the mix in the same section of the Western Conference playoffs as you. And our record is not good against those teams. It is not. It's well below 500 against those teams as well. So if you care about that, and I get it, Phoenix swept us 2 years ago, and then when we got to the playoffs, everything was different. But I don't know how you come out of a game like last night and feel particularly confident that they're giving you the best representation of themselves.
Clippers tonight, a game you can hear right here on The Fan. The Wolves yesterday before the game were a 3 seed. After losing that game, they are a 6 seed right now. Your Minnesota Timberwolves. That's how...
The gap right now, like you said, isn't like a game between 3 and 6.
Which I will continue to say is why the Orlando game is... Those are the types of games that bother me. Because those are ones that you shouldn't have to explain away as well. This league sometimes.
Correct.
When you have a stretch like the one that you're going in, like you got to look ahead a little bit and go, hey, you know what? We're going to LA.
That's what you're allowed to do.
We got the Warriors.
Well, we talked about that. What Viking season where it was early? You got a couple games at home you have to win.
Yes.
Because we looked ahead and said it's going to get tougher.
Yes.
So you have to give yourself some margin for error. And they're not giving themselves much margin for error.
No, so after tonight, Alan Horton pointed out they could be the 3, 4, 5, or 6.
Exactly.
Like that could all change because all those teams are in action and they're also very tightly packed.
When we come back before Kessler, we're almost forced to talk baseball. Not Twins baseball, but World Baseball Classic baseball. I am utterly and completely gobsmacked and confused regarding the current delicate condition of the United States baseball team. We'll get to that and a couple of other nuggets when we return.
Fan.
Team USA. World Baseball Classic loses to Italy 8-6 in front of a crowd of 38,643. And ordinarily you'd say, okay, do they really need to win that game? Dateline Houston, did it really matter that much? I mean, they're in, right? Everything's good, right? Well, no. Everything is not good. It is now. Here's how much danger USA team is. If Italy beats Mexico, USA gets to the quarterfinals. If Mexico beats Italy, and because of these weird tiebreaker permutations, scores at least 5 runs, the USA and Mexico are in and Italy is out. However, if Mexico beats Italy and scores 4 or fewer runs, USAtoday.com tells us, Mexico and Italy are in and the United States is out. Whoever thought it would have to come down to anything that arcane? Those sorts of numbers, runs,
score differential,
or score differential, whatever the case may be. Because the day before, we're frolicking. Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. And I will admit to you, I've not gotten into this event very much. I'm curious to find out how much of America has gotten into this event. Do we know what the ratings have been like? What the buzz has been regarding, a world stage, an event on the world stage?
I have no idea about the ratings. I mean, ESPN covers it a lot, it seems. Like Jeff Passan is around a lot. I think the media machine is trying to get people into it. I think the players have gotten into it pretty well. But this, the best part about it is manager guy, assumed before the game that our ticket had already been punched into the quarterfinals.
Here's the quote.
And he was wrong.
We want to win this game, even though our ticket's punched to the quarterfinals. Isn't the manager of all people supposed to know that? Isn't that a rather crucial item? Couldn't you say that's fireable?
Yeah.
I mean, you got to know that stuff.
Yes.
You don't have to know anything else, but you got to know that.
And it has inspired a series of just brilliant tweets, which is why, as much as I don't like Twitter, on days like this, it's good, where all they had to do was ask any travel baseball dad what the machinations were to get out of pool play, and they would have been able to tell you. At 10U, 12U, 14U, those guys would have had it down. A AAA baseball coach anywhere in any metro area would have been able to figure it out, but he couldn't figure it out somehow.
No, it's a little scary, a little shaky. So we'll see. Is that game the tiebreaker game for them, or the key game? Is that tonight?
I have no idea.
I don't know.
You ask who's into it. I am not into it at all.
I haven't been. And now, though, I might, you know me, I'm an ambulance chaser. I might pay more attention to it because now they're in this sort of scary prospect of what we all sort of, I think, assumed, well, I'll just get into it later, right? When we get to the quarters and the semis, then I'll spend more time on it. We talked briefly with Tim Collishaw about the Bam Adebayo 83-point game last night, Miami, taking on the horrific, putrid Washington Wizards, and how would we describe fairly Bam Adebayo? A good basketball player, a good professional basketball player.
Yeah.
Will never get within a sniff of the Hall of Fame. A good player.
Won the title with Toronto, right, in Kawhi?
That I don't remember. I don't think so. I'll double check that. Regardless, he's been an important player in Miami, although people have sometimes been exasperated by him that he should be able to do more on the basis of his skill, on the basis of his talent. But the issue...
Why did I think that?
I don't know. It happens to me. A synapse happens sometimes like that. But I'll
Pascal Siakam.
Siakam.
That's who I was thinking about. It was a funny name.
Yes.
It just came to me.
So here's what I think we have to remember, because people are looking at it as like, well, 43 free throws? Come on, man. That sounds kind of gimmicky. It sounds like it got stupid the last 6 or 7 minutes. And it sounds like the Heat participated in the stupidity of it. We're going to get them past Kobe Bryant's 81-point mark, which isn't Wilt's the record of 100, but in so-called modern basketball, it was Kobe at 81, right? And upon further review, I think the way I would look at it is all of these games have weirdness that ends up attaching itself to how the player gets to that astronomical number. And you could say it's kind of unseemly. You could say it's not a great look, because it seems like the game, the score becomes secondary to we got to get him whatever he can get on this night. But I think that's almost inevitable. That even a team that with the proud tradition of the Miami Heat, that they're going to get into it. Their head coach got into it. And part of what I think got it off the rail, though, was, I mentioned the number of free throw attempts. As I understand it, and I didn't watch it, but I did end up listening to some of it, they got goofy about, like, we're just going to keep fouling him and making him to hit free throws, they being the Wizards. And then I think Miami got bitter at the approach that was taken, and then they started fouling on the other end to get to factor in more possessions for the Heat to add to Bam's total on the other end of the court. But we talked about the game that and you had to remind me that the Wolves actually ended up losing the game where Cat got how many did he end up in that game? Over
63.
And it got off the rails. It got completely off the rails
Against Charlotte.
That's the worst case.
62 points.
Scenario, 62. When you're not able to win, but all these games, I think Wilt ended up with 28 free throws. Somebody started doing the research on Kobe, because part of the pushback on Miami was, well, why is he still in the game? The game's over. What's the point? Well, Kobe stayed in late in the game. In fact, that game was coached by our guy Sam Mitchell, who I'm still hoping we can get this week, because Mitchell's approach, as I recall it, he basically had it. He still played it honestly with Kobe, which was, I'm not going to send 4 people at him just for the sake of saying, I'm making somebody else shoot. I'm still going to play it somewhat honestly. It didn't look like the Wizards played it very honestly, and that's why I'm not totally willing to savage Miami, because I think part of where they got goofy and silly and kind of took away from the game is in reaction to what the Wizards had done. And the Wizards are really a pathetic franchise. They are tanking. They are sitting everybody. I don't know how they're not getting fined. There must be a doctor's note involved, or doctor's notes. But in the end, I think history, we're prisoners of the moment when it comes to, he's got a chance to get what? 60? 70? 80? Bleep it. Yeah, it'll come at the expense a little bit of how the game will look, but we're not going to have another chance to be involved in this, so bleep it. We're going to go ahead and do it. We're going to have some fun with it. And that's why I'm not quite as outraged, I guess, as some other people. If I'm outraged by anything, like I said, is I think it's just the one thing for me that takes away from it is we are in the official irresponsible tanking era. And one of those teams doing it was a co-conspirator in this happening. And that's also probably not totally fair to the player. But if anything takes away, it's perfect. It's symptomatic that we'd get somebody finally to pass Kobe, and sure enough, it would be in the irresponsible tanking era involving one of the teams that might be leading that charge. It's what the league deserves. I'm not willing to take it away from Adebayo because he's viewed as a very solid professional pro who, again, maybe could be more consistent, but he's viewed as a worker. He's not viewed as a shirker. He's not a malcontent, all those sorts of things. So is it unseemly? Yeah, but a lot of those ended up having moments where you go, ooh, what did that have to do? What did that have to do with, basketball? At some point, we sort of lost the thread. But don't you think that's the nature of any kind of record like that it's going to get?
It doesn't happen organically.
No.
You can't score that many points organically.
No, I don't think so.
It's very difficult.
Yeah. Now, what somebody said is, well, does this tell us if Bam Adebayo in this era can end up with 83, like 40 more than anybody has a right to expect from him, does that tell us that there may be a chance for somebody who's a real scorer to score 100?
Interesting.
That's the question.
Yes,
point.
and who would that be?
Anthony Edwards?
Probably Wemby.
Wemby would be a good answer.
Wemby, I think, could do it organically because there's no stopping him.
Yeah, he's...
Three-point ball, dunks. How are you going to stop him when he actually becomes an adult?
He's not bad.
Oh, scary for a Wolves fan.
Fortunately for us, he's going to be in the other conference once we move to the East.
Good point.
Exactly it.
Good point.
All right. We got a lot to get to with special K. Pat Kessler. He is in studio. Bradshaw and Bryan, KFAN text line is open at 64686. And actually, the first thing I want to talk about with him is, in a sense, it's sports related. In a sense, it's political as well. We'll get into all of that involving one of the Iranian national teams and a lot of stuff from the Middle East. Mining, ships exploding,
who would have thunk that?
Dogs and cats living together, etc. All of that is coming up after a brief pause.
I wish the American media would take a great look at the views of the people in Congress and find out, are they pro-America or anti-America?
Pat Kessler.
Because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
I can't trust Obama. He's an Arab.
Pat Kessler.
Tear down this wall.
I did nothing wrong at the Minneapolis airport.
Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy.
Pat Kessler.
And now, to help Dan break down all the tough questions in politics, it's our own
Pat Kessler.
Political Wonk.
I feel like a supermodel, except like times 10.
It's Channel 4's
Pat Kessler
with Dan Barrero on the Fan.
Kessler is indeed in studio. I want to start actually with it's sports, but it's also pathos. It's the combination. It's where, as the cliche goes, sports and real life might indeed intersect. So here's the. I think. Well, I don't know how many people are familiar with this story, and it has to do with the Iran women's football team, as in soccer team. I think we call it in the women's football. Maybe it's. I don't know if it's literally women's football or it's soccer. I'm not sure.
Well, I'd just say soccer.
Let's just go with soccer.
Sure.
But I don't know which it might be at this point. And apparently, while in Australia, 5 players made their decision to defect. Yeah, it is soccer. In the 24 hours following Iran's final match of something called the AFC Women's Asian Cup, a 2-0 loss to the Philippines. And as Athletic Guy writes, they faced a near impossible choice. Should they return to Iran? Threats to their safety existed on 2 fronts, both from the Iranian regime leadership, angered by the team's decision not to sing the national anthem earlier in the tournament, and by the reality that Tehran is now an active war zone. weathering United States and Israeli military strikes. If they remained in Australia, they had to consider the risks faced by their family back home. They have family, said one individual with direct knowledge. People are worried their parents will have had money confiscated or their family are being held hostage, so they have to go back. And, quote, on the bus back from the final games, several players in visible distress, other figures on the bus seen attempting to close the curtains. Their potential escape had been planned by the Australian Federal Police and the country's Home Affairs Department. The secret back channels used to reach the squad. Players met by a government representative in a hotel room, made aware of the range of options on offer. And just after a few hours after midnight, the five players were granted humanitarian visas, giving them the right to live, work, and study in Australia. Now, I do believe a sixth player did claim asylum early today. However, one of those individuals then changed their mind, asked to return, leaving the total number of those to claim humanitarian asylum at 6. Can you imagine that decision, the dilemma, the pressures that you're feeling at a time like that? I can't even begin. You know, we debate a lot of stuff here and kid about stuff that I get worked up over, and you go, that's not even single A ball. I mean, I can't even begin to comprehend having that sort of calculation, how you decide what you do, what the ramifications are of whichever decision you make might be. It's just horrific to think about, isn't it?
And everything that has happened, it absolutely is. Everything that has happened in Iran, and we've been talking about war and all of the bombings and the confusion here and the death and the violence. But you've got real people, real young women, who have to make a decision about whether they are going back or they are going to defect. Now, here is the thing. The Iranian government is insisting that they're going to bring them back. And we'll see what happens. But the choice is impossible because of this. You've got your family back there, and the player's family, they could strip the family of money, as the New York Times is reporting,
or worse,
or hold them hostage, or execute them. I hold nothing. I don't think that this regime, the past one and the new one, I think they will do anything. And I think we're going to find out, by the way, P.S., that the Khomeini, the father of the current Ayatollah, is going to go down as one of the biggest mass murderers in the 20th century. Terrible, horrible cruelty. These young women are going to have to make a decision based on that. Now, are they going to come for the Olympics this summer? That's something I'm not really familiar with, if they're going to be coming back, if the team is going to be allowed. Yeah. So all of that. Yeah, I mean, this is a terrible situation. I think President Trump is trying to exert some pressure to keep them safe, and so is the Australian government. But, oh, man, why do we have to talk about this? Why is this something that is now suddenly front and center for us?
It's
sports is news.
It is,
and news is sports. I mean, this is crazy.
Like you say, you have to calculate. It's not just about you. You have to think, and the idea that those are the kinds of choices you might make if you maybe want to take advantage of this opportunity. And by the way, even that's got to be scary. If you have no associations in Australia or no, it's like that's in of itself. Well, it could be free as hell, but it's also scary, right?
Yes, but have you heard how they did this, where there were back channel messages to other soccer teams, and then back channel to the Australian government? They meet secretly in a hotel room. I mean,
it's going to be a hell of a story when it's done. Yeah, being able to tell the whole story of what exactly took place.
And this does happen now. We all remember Saddam Hussein and what he did in Iraq with the soccer team. I mean, he murdered a lot of them. When they got back. So, this is terrible.
All right, let's get to some stuff regarding the Strait of Hormuz. I've got 3 headlines here. Some of the stuff you have covered in your notes. I'll just throw a couple of these things out, and then you can take it wherever you want to. This is a Wall Street Journal story from about 3 hours ago. 3 commercial ships were struck around the Strait of Hormuz today as Iran stepped up its efforts to halt traffic through the critical oil conduit. U.S. forces said they had destroyed 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels. Here's what interested me. The U.S. military has turned down requests to escort tankers or other civilian ships through the strait, with defense officials saying it won't do so until the threat of Iranian fire has indeed eased. So this is the old unintended consequences. Whatever you think, we're done. We already won. The war's over. What's not over, and oil's still pretty important. So give us what we know about all of the ramifications and complications involving the Strait of Hormuz.
As of this moment, I've checked over the last 20 minutes or so, the Strait of Hormuz is shut down. There is no oil coming through. Now, this is significant because it is rapidly going to have a cascading effect on all of us. You've got ships that are empty trying to get up to get more oil. You've got ships filled with oil north of the strait. And then you've got oil wells that are being shut down in the country. So this entire thing is going to affect not just gasoline prices, but fertilizer, agriculture, food, jet fuel, everything, every way we operate. The Iranian government has reportedly, according to the Wall Street Journal and the New York Times, started to drop mines into the strait. And these are very easy. It's the only weapon that the Iranians really have right now because, as President Trump has said on multiple occasions, they have bombed Iran into oblivion, pretty much. But they still have this. These are mines that are either the size of little coolers, six-pack coolers, or they are the size of refrigerators. And they can be thrown in there, and you can't get them out. It's very, very difficult. Our minesweepers are nowhere near. So here's the thing. It's shut down. President Trump has threatened some action that he is calling, and I don't know what to believe, but he says this will be the biggest attack on Iran that the world has ever seen, with weapons that have only been thought about, that kind of stuff. So it's a terrible situation as all of the attacks on Iran continue, and Iran is attacking other countries. That continues. Israel has bombed Lebanon this afternoon. Hezbollah. So this thing is expanding, getting wider and wider. Meanwhile, in the United States, either the war is ending or it's going to go on for a long time or whenever I want it to. We don't know. There are many different explanations for the reasons and when it's going to end.
32 countries have released 400 million barrels from a strategic oil reserve. Can you put that into some kind of context? How unusual is that? How big a number is that?
This is extremely unusual. This is the largest amount that they will let out of these strategic oil reserves. By the way, this was set up, the oil reserves, back in the 1970s. I'm old enough to remember the gas lines and the rationing and all of that stuff. And they set up this strategic oil reserve for this reason. If there's ever a blockage or a blockade of we can't get the oil, you can let this out slowly and try to lower the prices. It may not lower the prices enough, but it could provide some temporary relief while they figure out a way around this. And how much? Think about this. Would it be 18 cents, 15 cents? We don't know, 10 cents? How much on a gallon? All I know is that in the last 7 days, it's gone up about 50 to 60 cents per gallon.
Not my problem. I've got an electric car.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
Don't
blame me.
Okay, so here's the thing. Now, maybe we should put extra fees on the electric cars.
You have.
Yeah.
You have.
Maybe more. Yeah. But there you go. Because, as you know, that's not the future. President Trump has ended all the subsidies for electric cars, all future research, all climate, everything. So good luck with that in the future when we don't have electricity.
Well. All right, let's say for the sake of this argument that tomorrow Donald J. Trump says, we're done. We've accomplished what we needed to. We've gutted them the whole bit, leaving aside the larger ramifications. A couple people have written if you even accept that premise, which is,
declare victory,
to declare victory, how do you know Israel is going to go along? I mean, in some ways we think there's been some concert here at the front end, but is there any reason to believe Israel is going to say, okay, well, you're done, we're done too? How does that coordination take place?
I do not believe that. I think that Israel is beginning to expand the war throughout the Mideast.
Right.
It is bombing these countries that it has wanted to invade or attack for decades. And so I do not think that it's going to end. But if it does, call me crazy, I think it might be a really bad thing. President Trump just saying, losing interest, as he does in most things.
I'm ready to go on to Cuba.
Say, okay,
let's
done.
go to Cuba.
Yeah, let's do that one. Because if it ends now, there is going to be such a mess. It's almost as if you're going to need to finish it, whatever your plan was, which we still don't know.
No, we don't.
4 weeks, finish it, figure out where you go from here. What are you going to leave with the Straits of Hormuz blocked? Are you going to leave?
That you can't handle. I mean, that you can't allow, right?
Right. And you're going to leave all of the enriched uranium.
But how do you go get that? That's boots on the ground.
He's saying that is what they want to do.
Right. But so that means people on the boots on the ground. That's not
special
bombers.
Forces. Boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And you'd have to go in there, but it's not as easy as let's go in and put it in the back of a truck. You're going to have to dig out all of the nuclear facility that they bombed in June that he said he obliterated.
Yeah.
Dig that out and then take 900 pounds of enriched uranium and put them on trucks. You're going to have to protect it with the Air Force, military, take it to an airfield and get it out of here. So it ain't easy.
What do we know?
It's not. So I'd say I don't think we can leave now.
Well,
turn around and leave? I say nay.
Well, that's the question, is if you've done enough damage where you actually you've gone far enough that you can't stop, which in of itself is frightening.
Isn't that crazy?
To me,
yeah.
But that could be the case. But again, you got to calculate out exactly what that means, because once you start getting boots on the ground, there's going to be realistically a lot more casualties. It's a completely different thing than bombing from the air. We've had a few casualties, sadly as it is. What do we know about the new guy? He's the son of the last Ayatollah, correct?
Well, that is really interesting, because nobody has seen this person. And President Trump had said that.
So is he alive?
We don't know. He may have been injured in the attack that killed his father, his mother, his wife, his sister, and his child.
Wow.
They were all in that compound. Then they were all killed. He survived. There is some speculation that he is injured. We don't know how severely, but he hasn't made any public appearance. So does that mean that the Revolutionary Guard is running the country? Probably. This is not good. If we leave now, we just leave that entire mess with those people with nuclear capabilities, and there it is. What do you do now? So we don't know anything about him right now.
Well, what I think a lot of what we don't know, we don't have any signs yet that there's such chaos there that the leadership that goes deeper than any one Ayatollah has in any meaningful way been destroyed enough to where you say, okay, anybody might, fill in the vacuum, even if they had the means to do it. I don't think yet we have a sense that enough for the Revolutionary Guard. I think I read from an individual who I think is from the country originally, that the belief is at the top ends, those individuals are very committed to the current regime, regardless of who's in charge. The question is, how far down through the depth chart do you have to go to get to the place where there might be a lot of individuals who are ready to flee, so to speak, from the regime and turn on the regime? That's the great unknown. And have you eliminated, or can you eliminate enough at the top end to encourage those individuals to do whatever? Because we don't know that they have any access to any sort of weaponry, any sort of way to, even if they wanted to revolt, whether they have the means by which they could start the revolution, correct?
That is correct. From what I know, just from reading it over the last month or so, the protesters, the possible opposition to this regime, Most have been murdered, and I mean mowed down in the streets, executed in prisons, 30,000 dead just from that. So that opposition, including the leaders, appears to be gone. If you are going to be religious leaders, there are several layers, and I think the new Ayatollah is probably layer 3.
Right.
But there's 5 layers. The country is controlled by the Revolutionary Guard, which has all of the weapons. The protesters, the opposition have none of the weapons. So how do you do that? President Trump says that it's your time to, I've done what I said I was going to do. I kept my promise. Now rise up and take over your government. I don't know how that can happen currently. So
I don't see, there have been, for example, is it the Shah's kid or
it's his son.
It's his son.
The Shah of Iran's son.
My assumption is if he was confident that, hey, it's time, he'd have parachuted in, but I don't think he's done that yet.
Well, he hasn't, and President Trump has not expressed confidence in him. At first he did, but you never know where President Trump is going to be
That's
on
true.
this. So
you just got to suck up to him a little more.
I guess.
If he sucks up to the president a little more, you'll like him.
I know
how that works.
And this is an incredible country. If they don't have, they don't have to be
with incredible history.
Oh, and it's just
culture,
architecture, and music, and science, all the things that we could get from Iran. But it has been muffled and
it's been a long time in a very different culture.
Yes.
All right, let's get a break in. I got a little more to get to statewide. I've got a couple of fraud stories nationwide that are starting to hit. What's starting to happen, and I think it's relevant to hear, is, and it might actually be viewed as a relief to people here, government leaders who feel like they've been on the run on this significant issue, because we're getting some very good reporting from places like CBS News, Wall Street Journal, about fraud, believe it or not, major fraud elsewhere. So we're going to come to find out that we're not that special, and that there's a lot of this stuff beyond our is it shores? I guess it'd be our borders in this case. Kessler Part 2, and who knows what else. Maybe some Gopher talk before we're done as well. Stay tuned. Are you familiar, Pat Kessler, with Kankakee, Illinois? Kankakee,
Very
Illinois.
much so. Yeah, absolutely. Great town.
I just drove through it twice.
Did you really?
On the way from
There
Midway
and
to
back,
Champaign. Yeah.
Kankakee,
Lovely.
Great place.
Illinois.
Yep.
Well, it may be in the record books. It's possible that a world record hailstone was recovered in Kankakee, Illinois from my Monday night's bad storms. It has been measured at 8 inches across. 8 inches across. Now, I've got a picture of it where somebody's got it in their hand. It's like twice the size of their hand. That's a big chunk.
Twice the size of a softball, let's say.
It's enormous. It's bigger than a canned ham. I don't know.
Can you imagine the damage that does on a human or a car?
I would think it would.
Oh, my God.
So I don't know if it's in the Guinness book.
There's no such thing as climate change, so
no, that part
so
we
don't worry
know.
about it.
All right, let me ask you about because one of the items you have is the possibility that maybe there's been a shift image-wise over the course of the last 3 or 4 years of the Minneapolis-St. Paul marketplace, especially Minneapolis, and I'm wondering if this could add to it. Wall Street Journal just dropped a major investigative piece having to do, I think in its case, with a Medicaid scandal. I believe they were centering it on Indiana. And again, it was largely related to autism therapy. And then CBS News has one. It visited what they call ground zero for hospice fraud. L.A., California. One building. And this kind of follows the pattern here, quite frankly, of Feeding Our Future. One building had 89 registered hospices. That's the CBS one. The Wall Street Journal one was she charged $29 million to treat just 84 kids. The boom, in autism therapy is Medicaid's fastest growing jackpot. Now, are we starting to learn that as bad and as embarrassing as it's been here, and we still might not know the end of it, that now that those stories have been reported, and in many cases we've had court cases, we're going to find out that we're not that special, and that actually might take some of the heat off of us, that there are scandals just waiting to be discovered in lots of other places in the United States of America, lots of other states in the United States of America, on programs that for various reasons, like autism, have kind of mushroomed over a very short period of years.
This is absolutely true. Ours is still incredibly difficult and bad, what has happened here in Minnesota. But I think the ones that, all of the fraud, Medicaid, autism, all of the program fraud, the SNAP payments, there are many, many housing vouchers, there are so many different kinds of fraud. I think many of these began during the pandemic.
Yeah, you're right.
When the guidelines, when the rules were made a little bit lighter, made it easier for people to get it, there was not as much aggressive oversight of all of these to find out if, in fact, that's where
or even the infrastructure in place to create the oversight.
Because you're sending this money out, man, and it's just going. And in that case, there was no real AI, which is starting to get instituted now to try to root out this fraud. So, yes, I think we are going to find, and I think it was happening over the last few years, but we were single-mindedly focused on the Minnesota fraud, which, again, I'm going to say is terrible. But it has been happening in many, many states in the hundreds of billions of dollars since the pandemic. And so, yes, there are some cases that are starting to show up. And you mentioned the CBS one. That one was interesting, too, because like Minnesota, they never went to look. So you had some of these little feeding facilities they said they were feeding thousands of kids a day. In this case, in California, they found newspapers and mail piled up and nobody in the place. The lights were out, the rents. It was crazy. So, yes, we are going to start finding that, but I don't think it's going to change the focus here on what has happened here.
Would you say it's fair to suggest that to this point, to this moment in the second Trump administration, that the Kristi Noem hire is the single most spectacular disaster?
Boy, I'm going to have to think about that for a moment. More than the FBI director chugging beers in the locker room, more than Pam Bondi lecturing people about Epstein. I'm just trying to think. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to go through them in my head. Did not expect this question. I would say yes, it's a disaster. So if I may just segue from fraud to corruption. Mm-hmm. $250 million feeding our future fraud. Terrible. Go get them, put them in jail. $240 million in a corrupt scheme to make ads for Kristi Noem.
Putting her on a horse.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I'm not saying I didn't like it.
It was very, very scenic, aesthetically pleasing, but
sending videographers on ICE raids as they round up kids and handcuff abuelas. I mean, come on. Yeah, so is there going to be an investigation? Not yet. But yeah, this is amazing. This is amazing.
I don't know what the tipping point was that convinced the president, even the president, that I got to do something. And I don't want to let him off the hook, right? Because he made the appointment, correct? We can talk about her all you want.
Well, absolutely.
But it's his deal, and that's what people have to remember.
And I think there's an argument to be made that she's doing what he wanted her to do.
Exactly. That's my point. So, but what to me struck me, and we even played some of the sound bites, is you had, now again, I'll admit, they were Republicans in one case, not one of them not running for re-election. You could say it's a lot easier to be braver in that situation. But when you had Republicans just pounding away on the lack of cooperation that her office was continuing to give or not give in this case, in terms of a number of requests of trying to get forth information, And I thought in very effective fashion, I can't remember the name of the outgoing, it's a Carolina guy.
Well, Tom Tillis.
Tillis, exactly.
Yes.
That should have been among the red flags to say, because he wasn't being, what's the word? Some of these hearings, to me, they are very performative.
He was focused and furious
and precise about, well, let's get serious about this. At every attempt we've gotten to try to get important information, we've been stonewalled, and you cannot have an office run this way.
They still haven't received the money there for the disaster hurricane they had last year, which is sending them off. Then you had Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana.
That was the other one.
And he's the foghorn, leghorn type guy. I'm so amused. Look it up, kids.
Yes.
Foghorn, leghorn. I got to tell you, I really like him, and he's so amusing to me, and he really gets to the point. You don't have to like him, but he went after her too. So this is President Trump throwing her under the bus. They did this with his permission. They backed up the bus and then drove it over her again. I will say, and I don't think I'm speaking out of school, the thing that really started to get President Trump was what happened here in Minneapolis.
No question.
When he started seeing that, and because it made him look bad, and I think that's always his number one thing, but he didn't like what he was seeing. He didn't like what they were doing. He didn't like the cruelty and the insulting, violence, intimidation, and the death. But again, he didn't like that.
I agree, but
that's what started it.
I agree if that's what started it, but I'll say again, the individuals who were doing what they were doing to create that climate thought they were doing exactly what he wanted, and that's where
I
he
cannot
is still,
disagree.
Yeah, I just
cannot disagree.
That's where the accountability.
So
better that it got adjusted, but the fact is, they thought, hey, I thought that's what you wanted. Come on. And now you're mad at me?
And they do this all the time, where I'm doing what I think you want me to do.
Correct,
and that gives him a little cover. A heat shield, so that he can say, well, of course that's not what I want. Or, thank you so much for doing that.
Lastly, I want, in the remaining minutes, you and Gaardsy to get into what I assume might be a spirited debate about another item you have here. The Star Tribune reporting that the University of Minnesota will not release student-athlete NIL numbers. I'm guessing that Kessler's going to say, that's our information, University of Minnesota, that must be made public. And I'm guessing Gaardsy would say, sorry, you want to play in the real world of college sports? No one else is giving out that information. That's part of dealing with the real world realities of this day to day. Am I wrong in how I've characterized
where
either
are you
of you
on this? Yeah, I'm
for my part, we can go to break. You pretty much summarized it beautifully. There's really nothing I need to add.
All right.
There's really nothing I need to add.
This absolutely should be made public. I think the university should be more transparent about it. I get it. I get that they want to protect privacy, but it's taxpayer money. This is money that goes to the athletic departments.
That's not taxpayer money.
Well, it's athletic department money from the NCAA, right?
Yes, which is not taxpayer money.
It's technically true.
I don't think it's from the NCAA.
You're technically true.
Yeah.
Aren't we talking about the $20.5 million settlement?
Specifically, yes. That's what they're not releasing. In terms of their budget and everything else, that's easily found at gophersports.com.
And that's the $20.5 million is what I think they ought to make public. I also think the NIL should be made, all of the stuff all around the country.
Do you want to win or not?
They would agree with you on that.
Do you want to win? Or do you want to be right? You got to decide. Which is it? You're the guy, you're the rube who wants to go to games and cheer winners, and yet you're asking them to do stuff that no one else is asking to do. So why are we
Well, I think every school should.
Well,
and I agree with President Trump about this. I think President Trump is really great about this issue. I think Congress ought to get involved or get an executive order. Or
do you really want them to?
I don't know.
Trust them?
I think.
Be careful what you wish for.
I know. There are many unintended consequences, but I know the university says student athletes are not employees. Okay, I get that. But this is something that if we're supporting the University of Minnesota, and I am.
You are a big supporter.
And
my sources say you might be about to become a bigger supporter.
Well,
Can you comment on that?
That's very possible. Mm-hmm. That's very possible.
Do you expect to get a plaque or anything? Or do they give you a statue?
A brick at the Athletes Village?
What we get is points.
And then
right,
points
Gaardsy?
Leads to better seats?
Yeah,
amenities?
Or more times in the tunnel team.
Yeah, more time. I can be in the tunnel team.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
I may be giving a little more money, depending on the outcome of this controversy.
You might be holding the U hostage on this, is what you're saying. You want my money? Show me some transparency.
Well, I think this is a publicly funded institution, and that's what I will say, Gaardsy.
That's undeniable.
And then they'll say exactly what I said, not this part of it.
But, we're going to get private money. We're going to be privately funded for everything. President Trump is privately funding this ballroom, that tearing down the White House and building this. That doesn't make it right. How is that?
Like Dan said, do you want to be right or do you want to win? Like everybody else is doing.
You want both.
I was actually surprised. So, what was it? 3 or 4 schools actually are releasing exactly what they're doing. That surprised me because everyone's very secretive.
Maybe that's
about
them
this stuff.
saying it's the right thing to do.
And maybe one school is waiting for other schools to do it.
Why can't we be one of the leaders?
That's what I want.
That's what you're demanding.
That's what I demanded. So
you should ask Nils Hasselmo. That's who you should ask. Remember him?
I do.
Wasn't he president of the University of Minnesota?
Mark Udoff and Nils Hasselmo.
Yeah, I forgot about Udoff. That's right. Mark Udoff.
Brunings. Yeah. All these guys, these are all great.
Huge names, massive.
Yeah,
we got to go.
All right.
Thank you. Well, what's the matter? It's 6:15. We got to a lot of your stuff.
Well, look at all the notes that I've got. So many notes.
Well, you did. I think you covered a lot of good stuff.
I always am sad to leave you.
Well, we're always.
That's what it is.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it is. I'm always sad to leave you.
All right, we'll see you at the big. You're going to the Gophers are playing tonight in India. You're gonna have a hard time getting there.
See at the selection show Sunday for women's basketball.
Selection show Sunday.
Doors open at 6.
Oh, that
show
is
at 7.
At the bar, right?
Williams Arena.
Okay, so there is a huge bright spot.
It's a great opportunity.
I say give the women basketball the money.
Okay,
they're getting some of it.
Yeah, I know, but
how about your money?
Let me finish. Make it public.
Make it public. That's all he's asking. Big transparency guy.
You can come Sunday and ask Mara Braun how much she makes.
Stir it up. That'd be great. They get you thrown out of there. Get this guy
that would
security.
Be so great. Yeah, I know.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. See ya.
Pat Kessler will wrap things up.
Show Wrap is presented by American Pressure, commercial-grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the bumper-to-bumper Show Wrap.
It's possible I need to apologize to the World Baseball Classic community. If this information is accurate, and it may be both self-serving but also accurate, Fox claims that when Team USA defeated Mexico in Classic pool play on Monday night, 5,018,000 viewers were watching.
Hey, good for them. That's a good number. That's big.
That's a big number. In fact, I think viewership peaked at almost 5.7 million, the most watched WBC telecast ever. That's actually bigger than I thought it would be. To your point, I don't know I don't even know what's considered big anymore. We're so fragmented, but I think it's I didn't think it'd be that big.
Well, I'll give you a little perspective. NFL games are always like 20 to 30.
Yes, of course.
College basketball's having a great year. They're all like 1.5 to 2 million.
Okay, that's good perspective.
The Rate Bowl was 4.4 million this year, which, by the way, doubles like Duke, North Carolina basketball, which is crazy. Everybody loves football, but that gives you a little bit of a sense.
So
that's a good number.
That's a good number.
A good college football number is 10 mil.
And oddly, now almost being eliminated, if they do get eked through, maybe that's going to even add, that whole story is going to add a level of anticipation where people might get even further invested in it. We want to thank our distinguished guests today. Alec Lewis joined between 3:30 and 4. We talked about a number of Vikings personnel changes, additions, subtractions, and then the quarterback situation. It's very possible that by the time we're on the air tomorrow, the Kyler Murray era will have begun. We'll see. Allegedly, aren't there some reports that he's already on his way here? For all we know, he might be here.
That's
already.
what I've seen.
But I don't think that's yet been confirmed.
Right.
It has been speculated upon. Kessler just wrapped things up with us at 5:30. And my old buddy Tim Collishaw, longtime Dallas Morning News columnist, who more recently, of course, was over 20 years a regular panelist on the ESPN show Around the Horn. He joined, and he basically called it what I said it was, a Kyler Murray intervention. He is a long-standing Cardinals fan for whatever reason. It's been his team. And he believes, he's warning the marketplace. He's warning the Vikings that he believes Kyler Murray is, at best, a diminishing quarterback who's already had his best years, and his best years weren't all that good. He understands Arizona, not a great franchise, but he is not convinced that the Vikings will be, and their fans will be as delighted as a lot of people want to think they will be on the basis of the low price. Obviously, the contract will be very helpful and will be very low, but very small. And you have the fact that he has had moments, unlike J.J. McCarthy. So for whatever that's worth, we got into that and went down memory lane on some Dallas stuff with him as well, including the time I thought I was pinching him in the butt. Super Bowl week, and it ended up I was pinching the butt of an individual I didn't know.
What a multi-layered story that became.
It's quite bizarre.
Involving Walter Payton.
But yeah, well, in a sense, it was inspired by the late, great Walter Payton, who did once pinch Tim Collishaw on the butt, but not knowing who he was, but annoyed that he was around a Bears kicker who'd missed a couple kicks in a playoff game, and Payton felt like the Jackals were circling in a way that he found rather unbecoming. I was inspired by that. Wanted to get Collishaw's attention because we had that kind of relationship. And the guy from behind, I thought it was him. It turned out to be Babe Laufenberg, who was once a quarterback.
Yeah.
But at that point, I think was doing broadcast work for the Dallas Cowboys. Fortunately for me, Laufenberg didn't deck me because he didn't know me from Adam. Right. And I had to explain myself. My God, I'm sorry. I thought you were Tim Collishaw, who he knew. That might have helped me out a little bit, too.
Fortunately for all of us, Paul Allen didn't work with you guys at the Dallas Morning News, and he only pinches and pokes sides and not butts.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
That would have been a big difference for
Even
PA.
better. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday? Are you in tomorrow?
I'm in tomorrow. We'll have Russo.
Oh, good.
From the X, we think, from Grand Casino Arena.
The return of Dr. Dan's inbox, perhaps?
Inbox is good. And do you want to text Craigers or do you want me to text Craigers?
We can both text him. That's not a problem. We'll figure out a time. Yeah, we'd like to get Kilborn. It's time because 2 L.A. games, right, back to back. Is he going to both of them?
He never goes to the Lakers. He might be going tonight. I don't know.
We'll find out. We'll check in on him tomorrow. We'll talk to you at 3 o'clock.